August 4th, 2025, Miami Beach, Florida. At Rebecca Towers, a senior living complex at 150 Alton Road, a confrontation unfolds that will soon be captured on surveillance footage that shocks the community and raises urgent questions about safety, aging, and violence in shared housing. The man at the center of this crime is 83-year-old John Gula, a longtime resident of the building. Frail in appearance, elderly in years, but harboring a volatile edge that would erupt in one violent act. The victim, Amelia Ortiz, the property manager of Rebecca Towers. Known among residents for her no-nonsense management style, Ortiz was tasked with ensuring residents complied with inspections and building codes. It was her duty to confront issues even when those conversations turned uncomfortable. On that August afternoon, Ortiz approached Gula in the hallway outside his unit. The subject, a failed inspection and the deteriorating condition of his apartment. It was not the first time she had pressed residents about violations, but this encounter would be unlike any other. The surveillance footage, grainy but clear, shows Ortiz speaking with Gula and his companion, Rosinda Arellana. The conversation, tense but calm at first, quickly escalates. Then, in a shocking turn, Gula steps briefly out of frame. When he returns, he is holding a foldable knife. He lunges forward, stabbing Ortiz in the chest. The footage captures the chaos. Ortiz struggling, attempting to disarm her attacker, blood already marking her clothes. She throws the first knife aside, but Gula is relentless. Reports later reveal he pulled a second collapsible knife, continuing his assault as Ortiz fought for her life. Ortiz sustained stab wounds to her torso and a laceration to the back of her head. Bleeding heavily, she stumbled through the building, desperately seeking help. She would eventually collapse inside another unit, clutching her chest. Emergency services rushed her to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where she arrived in critical but stable condition. Meanwhile, Gula fled. Surveillance tracked him moving to another floor, retreating into his girlfriend's apartment. When police finally confronted him, he was found emerging from the bathroom, his shoes stained with blood. Gula was arrested without further resistance. In custody, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right, refusing to provide a statement. Prosecutors wasted no time, charging him with attempted second-degree murder with a deadly weapon. He now sits behind bars, denied bond, awaiting trial. But who is John Gula? At 83 years old, neighbors described him as reclusive, irritable, and increasingly bitter. Public records reveal little about his earlier years. He had no recent serious criminal record, but minor disputes and personal conflicts reportedly peppered his later life. Those who knew him in the building say his temper was quick, and his relationship with management was strained long before this attack. Ortiz, by contrast, was regarded as professional and dutiful. Her role was not glamorous, enforcing housing codes, confronting residents over violations, and carrying the burden of being both a caretaker and an enforcer in a senior complex where tensions often ran high. The footage of the stabbing, disturbing in its clarity, has become the centerpiece of this case. It shows not just the attack, but the split-second escalation of a confrontation between tenant and landlord. What begins as a conversation ends in bloodshed. For prosecutors, the video is damning evidence, proof of intent, aggression, and repeated attempts to harm. For Gula's defense, it may raise questions about age, mental capacity, and whether an elderly man of 83 can be judged by the same standards as a younger attacker. The stabbing of Amelia Ortiz at Rebecca Towers is more than a singular crime. It's a story about the fragile balance in senior living communities, the pressures faced by property managers, and the potential volatility of residents who feel cornered. As Ortiz recovers, her scars are both physical and emotional. For the residents of Rebecca Towers, the hallways now carry a new weight. The memory of violence, recorded on camera, replayed endlessly. And for John Gula, once just another aging resident of Miami Beach, his fate will now be decided in a courtroom. The footage remains the undeniable truth, a moment of confrontation spiraling into attempted murder. In Miami Beach, the case of John Gula and Amelia Ortiz is a chilling reminder that violence knows no age, and that sometimes even the most ordinary disputes can end in tragedy.